What's up everybody, it is Jay here, and today I wanted to talk about detransitioning. I noticed a lot of people have been talking about detransitioning recently for two specific reasons that I've seen it being talked about. One of which was there was an article in The Independent, which is like a UK predominantly, I think, newspaper, but it was also published on the Irish Independent website, so, Independent made this article about a young Australian teenager who had transitioned when they were 12 and then decided to detransition when they were 14. And then the other reason why I've seen it being talked about is because reportedly, and now this is not something I have any source on, this is just something I've seen people saying, the Philly Trans Health Conference had two workshops at their conference planned about detransitioning, but then people complained and those workshops were cancelled, which is why it's been in the spotlight a lot in the last few days. So I just wanted to communicate 5 things about detransitioning that I think people should be aware of when they talk about detransitioning, because I see a lot of people saying things that don't make sense or don't seem right to me, and that's why I wanted to make this video. First and foremost, what I wanted to say was that detransitioning is okay. Like, transitioning isn't easy, and to then realize that transitioning was not the right choice for you is not easy either, I assume. And we shouldn't be acting like detransitioning is in itself evil, because it's not, Like, it's not, it doesn't make someone a bad person for initially thinking that they were trans and that transitioning was the right choice for them, and then realizing that it's not. That doesn't make you or anyone who realizes that a bad person, and we shouldn't demonize people for detransitioning, and we shouldn't make it any more difficult for people to detransition. The second thing I wanted to say was that detransitioning is no one's fault. Every time I see people talk about detransitioning, I see a lot of people, including the person who may have detransitioned, place blame on other people and other things, such as on the medical system for effectively not saying they weren't trans and not letting them transition, on other people for pressuring them into transition, be it people in the trans community or be it parents towards kids. I see a lot of this blame happening, and I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's fair. For example, blaming it on the medical system for not providing thorough enough therapy or not stopping you from transitioning is the exact opposite of what the trans community wants and needs, because transition should be as accessible as possible for people, but through one's own volition and one's own choice. You shouldn't have to prove yourself to anybody else to get treatment that you need. And, saying that you're blaming the system for not providing that for you is blaming the fact that the system is a way that is more accessible for the majority of people and is better for the majority of people. If you are not sure about transitioning, that's your own personal thing to deal with. And if you're not sure about transitioning, that's okay, I don't believe people should blame other people for the fact that they've detransitioned or for the fact that they transitioned in the first place. But I also don't think we should blame those individuals either. It's hard to figure yourself out. It's hard to figure out what you want. And the sooner we stop playing the blame game and trying to point the finger at each other, the sooner we can actually help people figure themselves out in a timely fashion and decide what they want and not make mistakes that they end up regretting. The third thing that you should know about detransitioning is that it is not a common occurrence. The vast majority of people are satisfied with transitioning, be it socially or medically. However they feel they want to transition, they're satisfied, they're happy afterwards. And even when people are not necessarily satisfied with how their transition has gone, maybe because they didn't get the results they wanted from their surgery or from their hormones, or because they still have some dysphoria, that doesn't mean those people have detransitioned or that they've decided that they are no longer trans. That is not what that means. The vast majority of people transition and don't regret it, because the vast majority of people don't detransition. The vast majority of trans people are trans, is what I'm kind of getting at here. Yes, some people do detransition and it happens, but the media misrepresents detransitioning as this overwhelmingly common thing, and It just isn't. The fourth thing that you should know about detransitioning is a real pet peeve of mine. I hate this so much. I often see people mislabel stuff that isn't detransitioning as detransitioning. For example, if you are a trans person who then decides that you cannot be out safely as a trans person for whatever reason, that is not detransitioning. That is going back in the closet. If you are a trans person who, let's say, you're a trans man and you're on testosterone, and then you decide for whatever reason that you no longer want to be on testosterone and you stop taking T, then you did not detransition because you're still trans. You have made an alteration to how you are medically transitioning, but you're still trans. And the same goes for if you go back into the closet. You're still a trans person, you're just back in the closet. Another thing that I notice a lot is when people like realize a development in their gender identity, be it like someone who had like identified as a trans man previously, realizing that they're more non-binary, but like doesn't change anything else about how they act or present, and does not identify with their assigned gender, that people label that as detransitioning. But detransitioning is where you identify as your assigned gender and you go back to living as your assigned gender. Going back in the closet, not the same as detransitioning. Realizing that you're non-binary when you previously thought you were a trans man or a trans woman, not detransitioning. Changing how you medically transition, not detransitioning. Those things are not detransitioning because all of those people are still trans. Last but not least, number 5 is that detransitioning is not an argument against allowing other people to transition. As I said previously, detransitioning is incredibly uncommon, and acting like the fact that transition wasn't right for one person or for some people doesn't mean that no person should ever be allowed to transition ever. The vast majority of people, transitioning is the right thing for them. For the vast majority of people, being trans, improves their mental health because they're able to live as their true selves, they're able to express themselves the way they want to, they're able to live their lives how they feel most comfortable. And acting like detransitioning invalidates all of that, acting like one experience can invalidate hundreds of thousands of other people's positive experiences of transition, is ridiculous and is inaccurate and is harmful to the trans community. If you want to hold up one story of detransitioning and use it to prevent anyone from ever detransitioning again, then you're moving backwards. You're not helping people by doing that. You might think that because detransitioning is so common that it's so important to stop people from transitioning, but the fact of the matter is, for the vast majority of people, transitioning is the right thing. And using detransitioning as an argument against allowing other people to detransition is not only harmful to the trans community, but it's using those people who detransitioned for your own personal gain. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do click the like button down below and subscribe for more videos like this one. The comment section is absolutely open so that people can tell me what they think of detransitioning. I really do think it's something that needs to be talked more about, because I know that obviously members of the trans community feel really defensive about it, because so often detransitioning is used to try and invalidate us or shut down the trans community or act like transitioning isn't good or isn't helpful for people. And obviously so often people who have either detransitioned or feel strongly about detransitioning try and use that against us. So it's obviously a conversation that can be very hostile, and I would like to hear some non-hostile things, hopefully, about detransitioning. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.